My name is Jim Shannon, Director of Emerging Product here at Tekion. With me is Cliff Holland. Would you introduce yourself, sir?
Hey everyone, I'm Cliff Holland. I'm the Director of Partner Success here at Tekion.
Joe Castelino, Corporate Pick Software for American Motor Distributors.
Thanks, Joe. So today we're going to talk about change management and how technology helps you with that change. So Joe, you've had several dealerships come on Tekion, right? How did you adopt to Tekion? What are some best practices that you found? Any tips and tricks that you'd like to tell the crowd?
I've been on Tekion for a while now, so it's hard to just say which one of my best practices, or if I had to think about a tough question, I would say the wow moments are watching people break out of their norm and say, wow, we can write a car on the surface drive, we can sign this, and watch the full digital process. So all of my stores are paperless, which is the big wow factoring for the customers, right? Customers come through, it's a very clean look. Yeah, I guess I would say the digital process is probably one of the most wow moments in both the internal and external components, right? Like internally, the advisors, the dispatchers, the technicians, it's all just, okay, we're following this troubleshoot, or we're following this process. And the customers just get this wow Amazon experience, right? They get to decide how their experience is going to be, using one of the key lounges, deciding if they want to talk to somebody, just setting it up all in the appointment and doing it early.
You talked about digital experience, right? And from a service drive, very different from what you did beforehand. And so how did you do that adoption, right? How did you ensure, right, that everybody was not printing that piece of paper anymore?
It was kind of changing management, right? So we're starting to talk about like, hey guys, what do we really need this for? And so what we did when we came up with this process is I let them, employees, everybody involved, come up with it. I said, okay, we're going to do a painless, paperless process meeting. And it was every Thursday. And we all decided on how we could eliminate paper and how we could overcome these obstacles. And by making their car that change, it was very easily adopted. Now, I think with anybody, or with any change, there is a little hesitation, right? And so I remember one advisor would not give up the paper. And so I walked around and I shut off the printers, right? And he came back in, or I think I pulled the power cord, and he came back in and he brought his own power cord, And you're like, okay. But through that experience, I learned, right? So when we start rolling out stores, we train them on the paperless process. And I remember the second or third store we took digital, I just had IT simulate a printer server failure and power down the server for an hour and a half to 2 hours, right? I said, go get some lunch, have some fun. Everybody's screaming bloody murder. And I'm like, hang on, guys, we've trained for this. We're good. Go through the process, go through the process, go through the process. And it worked.
Process is always key, right?
Yeah. I think Tekion in particular, it highlights your strengths and underlines your weaknesses.
From a change management perception, while we're talking about Tekion, the kind of the vast changes that you made coming from where you came from, right? Are you seeing now, right, people adopting the platform easier, right? New hires coming in, not having to be trained as long as your old platform, right? Because of the new UI and the new kind of approach to the problem?
So I think the harder obstacle is switching somebody from a legacy DMS into Tekion. The new hires that are coming in right at the gates don't have any of the old habits to break, right? Like some DMSs taught us our own languages, right? Like we could talk in code, we could talk in opcodes, we could talk in all sorts of stuff. And the reality is it just doesn't need to be that way, right? And I think what Tekion has done very well is identify that it doesn't have to be that way, that we can move into these newer platforms, we can click buttons, we can see this. So it's a much more visual approach to it. I got a question for you guys. You guys are always leaders of innovation, but where's Tekion going next?
Sure, I think we're taking a few different approaches, right? We'll speak to a couple of them, but starting with, kind of onboarding your dealerships, right? And seeing how that process works. It's a big change, right? Changing the brain, it's heart surgery, and you can say all these things that people kind of, stories that people tell as they change from DMS to DMS. It doesn't happen very often, right? So preparing your people to do so, we have programs to do it, right? One being our Tekion Certified program. So that is an on-site program. Come out to our Pleasanton office or our office in Cincinnati, spend a week with some expert trainers, and really go into process, configurations, your day-to-day operations, right? And come out of that week certified on that particular track. So 4 weeks, again, coming out to Cincinnati or Pleasanton, seeing those things. And then from there, we have what we call TVA, Tekion Virtual Account. What that allows you to do is have your people join onboarding classes, see their day-to-day, what they're going to do by creating ROs or deals or quoting inventory, right, at a kind of an accelerated pace, talking to expert traders as well, but virtually. And we also do kind of like a credit-based class where as you adopt Tekion, right, like we said, that change is massive. So as you keep on kind of moving towards that, you want to optimize what you're doing on Tekion, right? I'm sure you have a plenty of example of that as well that we've done. And from there, right, that virtual academy will allow you to take advanced courses around shoring up your end-of-month process, inventory moving from dealership to dealership, right? Many different topics to kind of make sure that we're getting the most out of Tekion. And actually, we have a testimonial from one of our dealer groups.
We got more than 300 users, so I was really nervous how the transition would go through.
I had been on CDK for 25 years, but it actually has been a smooth transition and a conversion.
At TCP, once we learned everything that Tekion can do, it was just mind-blowing. CDK doesn't have training, nothing close to TCP.
It reminded me of going back to college. You had an instructor that was very knowledgeable, so I feel like I've mastered the program already.
When we did the TCP, we were shown a lot of functions where it comes to clearing schedules without having to go in and out of applications and having to type in different acronyms to get into different areas. We could do it all from one area.
I became a trainer now. So the day that we went live with Tekion, I was able to answer all the questions that my team had, which made it so much easier for the transition.
Virtual Academy was a huge help. Everybody was able to get familiar with Tekion.
The TCP and the TVA is definitely helpful. Even afterwards, when they were there to have the weekly meetings, it was a help.
In TCP, I was able to learn how easy it is to use the platform.
My older system, you could have taken you days to find something that you want. In Tekion, you can do it in 2 seconds.
You know, if I don't know how to get into the financial statement, I type in financial statement. It's very user-friendly.
Another thing is reports, because I'm big on reports, and that gave me like an infinite numbers of reports. It takes user input also, so they're not set reports. To me, that was a big thing.
Being able to do journal entries, and even with the deposits, making sure the deposits are correct, it has improved efficiency a lot.
I would 100% recommend both the Virtual Academy and TCP if you're planning to switch to Tekion. It makes the transition so much easier, and you're going in with so much more confidence because you're comfortable with the platform already.
Any conversion is tough, and this basically simplifies the process, and you get a good learning curve and a starting point to begin the process.
Every dealership that is switching to Tekion, they need to do this.
Yeah, so just as an example, right, somebody that came through, did the certification program, and what you heard from them there was that they were prepared for the change, right? And that's really what the goal is, being prepared to make that change. And really, there are kind of tips and tricks that we've picked up throughout the years by making these conversions, right? So we will kind of announce to your people that you're doing so via flyers and email blasts and content that we provide to your dealership groups to ensure that everybody knows this is coming, right? And that it's not a bad thing, right? We're going to adopt technology, we're going to get better, we're going to make everybody's lives easier and more efficient, right? And then from there, right, we'll talk about the partner success and how that kind of continued consulting comes into play.
Yeah, so Cliff Holland, I'm responsible for the Partner Success Department in the central part of our country. I affectionately refer to us as the flyover states. And it was my experience when I started with Tekion when we were measuring our total account base and the tens or the dozens, in addition to a support team for the day-to-day issues, for the, hey, I need help with this, the 24/7 helpline, we also needed a team of performance managers, if you will, a group of professionals who can work one-on-one with their stores to help them optimize the Tekion platform. It's just not possible, no matter how bright our teams are, to spend a week or 2 or 3 with implementation and come out true experts. We need an ongoing relationship so we can onboard our customers. We can help them adopt to the new platform and then really grow into it to make sure that you're realizing the benefits of your investment, to make sure that you are truly optimized in your one ecosystem of the ARC platform. So that's our goal, is we're going to make sure you're performing optimally on the Tekion platform. That's what the Tekion Partner Success team will do for you.
So Joe, right, you've done this a bunch of times, right? What are some tips, tricks that you'd like to talk about for changing a DMS?
So when I got on Tekion, I was not off, TCP didn't exist. So I developed our own process, right, within my group. So for us in our rollouts and our changes, we invite Tekion to come in for the first week, and they train all of our users on how to write an RO, how to build a part, how just the day-to-days really function. And then what I'll do is I will grab the implementation lead, and we'll structure our own classes. And I found the most successful transitions have been when I grab a parts guy, a service guy, a writer, a dispatcher, a couple of technicians, and I hold these independent classes and say, okay, well, you guys already know how to write a repair order. I don't need to teach that, but this is our process, and this is how we're going to adopt it, right? I think that's important that we understand that the DMS is only as good as you use it. And if nobody understands how a ticket is moving or how things move in its ecosystem and how you can adopt that to yourself, it becomes not yours, right? And it's a different role. And I think it's important that you understand that it's just technology. You implement it into your own process, and just keep reiterating that process.
Yeah, but you really got a partnership, right? Tekion and our dealer partners, right? We call them that for a reason. We create a partnership, right? And being able to talk about process and what your process is and adapting to that process inside Tekion, but also showing how Tekion can improve and make those processes more efficient throughout that. Well, thank you, everyone. Well, that will end this session today. Joe, thank you very much. Pleasure as always.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you.